Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Swim Lessons. I'm your host, Dal Sanson. Today's podcast guest is a fun one. It's a first for us. We've got a first responder. He's a fire chief in Minot, North Dakota, and he goes by the name of Jason West. Jason West is a former all-conference college basketball player who is now the head fire chief for Minot, North Dakota. We talked about his journey with the game of basketball, how it affected his life, how it changed his life for the better, and also how he became into the fire department world, if you will. Becoming a chief for a fire department is something very tough to do, and we talked about like these weird different tests that they have to go through, all this other crazy things, and it was a really interesting conversation, and I picked up a lot about it, and I think you will too. But before we get to Jason, we got to talk about Sports on Tap and Planet Pizza, Minot's best place to have any kind of fun. Whether you're looking to have fun with eating some of the best pizza in the state of North Dakota, playing some laser tag, or hey, even going over to the other side to Sports on Tap and having yourself an adult beverage. Sports on Tap and Planet Pizza is where it's at for all types of people, no matter what age. Contact them on Facebook at Sports on Tap or give them a call, the Mueller family. They're fantastic at 701-837-8220. Thank you, Sports on Tap. Next up, a new sponsor, and I'm stoked about this. If you're listening to this podcast today, they're going to have all of the games for Class B basketball tournament coming up for the state. That's PSP Network. It's game day. PSP promotes local athletes, and they have done this for a very long time. Nick Holberg and all his crew at PSP Network do a fantastic job of making sure the state of North Dakota is going to be well and alive when it comes to high school athletics. You can check out PSP Network at psp.network or just YouTube them and check them out at PSP Network. They're fantastic. Nick does a great job, and I'm going to be listening this weekend, and so check them out on YouTube. Next up is Neighborhood Pediatric Therapy. Neighborhood Pediatric Therapy is located in the central part of Minot, and they have been providing speech services for individuals from birth to age 21. Services range from free screenings, speech and language evaluations, and therapy for a variety of areas, including feeding, language, speech and sounds, and auditory processing. They accept a wide variety of insurances. You can look them up and get more information by going to their website, which is www.neighborhoodnd.com, or you can reach them out at 701-837-8877 about any questions you might have, or just to set up an appointment for your child. Next up is Glasso Angus. Glasso Angus is a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. Glasso Angus is your premier source for registered black Angus since 1973. Glasso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and are built to thrive on the northern plains. Check them out at glasoeangus.com. And I know they've got their big bull sale coming up, so make sure you go ahead and check out that website if you're in the cattle industry and see what they've got to offer. Last but not least is Up Top. Up Top, the clothing company. Up Top grew up from the ground up, and that's why the roots are so important to the team at Up Top. Up Top was formed in Butte, Montana from its founders of Luke and Colt Anderson. Up Top continues to be designed in Montana with Butte's tough as nails mantra, with apparel for both men and women. Check them out on social media at Up Top or just online at teamuptop.com. That's TEAMUPTOP.com. And that's all of our sponsors. Don't forget to turn on that like any video you do see, comments below, and also turn on your notifications so when we got a new episode coming out, you'll see it. Also, we got the DC Classic coming up in first weekend of April, so if you play the game of basketball and you want to have some fun, and we've got some good live music, it's first weekend of April here in Crosby, North Dakota. And that is all I give you now, the great, powerful, and somebody you should know, Jason West. Hey, buddy. Good to see you, man.
What's up, brother?
It's been a long time coming. Appreciate it. You're actually our first responder to ever come on Swim Lessons. Appreciate everything you do.
Hey, there we go. I love that.
Yeah, man. How you been? How's everything going?
Life is good. We're in the thick of things of March basketball, so it's my favorite time of year. I get to ref a lot of these tournaments, or a lot of these games, which turns into the tournaments. It's my favorite time of the year, so life is good right now.
How long have you been reffing?
Oh man, I think this is my 4th full year of a varsity schedule.
Okay.
I think I've been doing it for about 6 years. So my first 2 years, I was doing a lot of like C squad, JV type stuff. So yeah, this would be my 4th full year of a varsity schedule.
It's funny because like reffing, it's not only knowing the game, but it's like you have to really, really, really control your own emotions because you got people yelling at you. And I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I was at the WDA last weekend, and the ref stopped the game in the championship and kicked out a fan, and then the fan had to get up and walk out with everybody watching him. It was dead quiet in there. So I mean, it's not only the refs have to be like the people that control the players; they got to control the environment as well.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you're the game manager, but you're more of a mediator, I guess, when it comes to the fans. That's kind of a tough situation. I don't know what happened there. That's a rare occasion.
Right.
Thank God I've never had to do anything like that yet. But for the most part, it's kind of like handling the emotions of the players, of the game, of the coaches. I obviously come from a background of playing the game. So, and especially the way I played the game with high emotion and things like that, I definitely give players, coaches a super long leash. I'm not a guy that's going to come out here and tell people to, I'm going to warn you, sit you down, give you a technical, anything like that. I truly enjoy the game of basketball, and I think the game of basketball is best played with emotion. Both highs and lows. That's what makes the game of basketball beautiful to me. Is feeling the momentum shift and things like that. Yeah. I love being in those moments as a player, as a ref, as a coach, whatever it is. Those are just my favorite moments in the game.
That's a good segue into this. Before we hopped on, we were talking about your time at Minot State playing. I was at Dickinson State. It was you were in your senior year. I think I was a freshman or sophomore, but anyways, it was a packed gym. You went off. I can't remember how it ended up, but how did you collegiately not only play, but play against those hostile crowds and still have a way to kind of catch your rhythm inside of the game and not let the environment get to you?
Or
did it get to you?
It's funny because I actually have a story to go back to that.
Okay.
Is on both ends of the spectrum. I played at Mary my first 2 years. Obviously, you just did a podcast with Willie.
Yeah,
I played with Willie my first 2 years, and my older brother at Mary, and then I transferred to Minot State. Well, at Mary, we didn't have any rivalries. They were new into the NSIC. We were getting our butt kicked for the most part, really.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any of the rivalries. They didn't play Minot State anymore. They didn't play Dickinson State anymore. So when I first came up to Minot is when I kind of got my first taste of a rivalry in college, and it was Dickinson State. I have a personal story that going into the Dickinson State game, Tate Kick, who I played with at Mary as well, contacted me. It was my junior year at Minot State, so 2009. He's telling me, "Hey, just a heads up, the student section's going to come at your head tonight." And I'm like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So my personal story is what kind of goes into it, but I don't want to get into that. Long story short, we go into Dickinson, and the student section is packed with all you football guys.
Yeah,
a bunch of meatheads standing there.
There was no bar before or anything.
I was going to say half drunk, who knows? But and they're coming at me right away.
Yeah.
And they're coming at our team too, don't get me wrong. And to kind of go back to your question that you asked, is I let that moment kind of take over me of like, oh, it almost was too much for me. Like, it was a hostile environment. I let it get the best of me. I didn't have the greatest game. I'm pretty sure we lost the game. I was the sixth man on the team anyways, but I was the second guy in minutes per game. Me and Mr. Carney were both point guards, and he started. But then we would always finish the game together. But yeah, I had a super tough game. And then that following year, 2010, the year that you were there, I told myself, after that game, I felt terrible in 2009. I told myself, next time I go in that, I'm coming for their head. Like I'm going all out. And that was my favorite game. My senior year was going to Dickinson State, regular season game. Willie got to come to the game with his dad and Bacham and those guys that I played with at Mary. So they for whatever reason, they didn't have a game that weekend. So they came and watched me play, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And like you said, I had my best game of my collegiate career, which I was able to get a triple double with points, rebounds, and steals, I think.
Nice.
Which is
Holy
hard to do.
shit, yeah.
But we still lost the game, which in that game, going back to your, how do you deal with the emotions of the crowd and things like that, I actually fed off of it that year. I mean, I was making layups, making passes, doing the thing, and I'm, talking to the crowd, doing my whole thing. I just embraced that moment of like, you're going to come at me, well, I'm going to give it right back to you. And that's kind of what I thrived on. Like when I'm playing basketball now, even today, if someone's going to start talking to me, that's kind of when I ramp it up. I actually thrive in those moments and I enjoy those moments. So it can hinder you if you don't step up to the moment and realize that those emotions are part of the game and just play with them and enjoy them and be as you are. And if I can play the game of basketball with those emotions and be able to kind of turn my swag on a little bit and enjoy those emotions, that's when I'm at the peak of playing basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's what a lot of people say. Also talking about Willie, and last night I learned on the podcast that your dad had a big influence on Willie's defensive philosophy, which I came completely out of left field for me. And then you played under your dad. Your dad was your high school coach. Tell us about that, man, because we all talk about that. And Dean Winchesky coaches his son Eric. He talked about it on the podcast as well. So take us through kind of your high school career with your dad as your head coach. And he's a really good head coach as well.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, I have it a little bit different than like Dean and Eric have it, Winchesky, that is. But I definitely can see the similarities that I went through. Just kind of watching from afar. I obviously don't know them on a personal level. I ref their basketball games, things like that. I'm a fan from afar. But listening to Dean's podcast with you, he's talking about how difficult it is to be, the coach, and then you have a kid on the team, and now you're coaching that kid, and how difficult it is to be a coach's kid. Because you get of course you're going to get well, he's only getting these opportunities because his dad's the coach and blah, 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 blah. And I went through the same thing. And I had an older brother who was 2 years older than me. So he kind of paved the way. So it was easier for me as far as like, dad and coach and things like that. So I got to kind of witness how it was done through my brother, and then just kind of live it the same way that he did to the best of my ability. But I did go through the whole, the only reason he's getting these opportunities is because his dad's the coach. Yeah. And it sucked at times, you kind of block out the noise. You try to do the best that you can. And I was a 5'9", 145 pound dripping wet my senior year. I wasn't getting any looks from colleges or anything like that. I had average numbers, probably, what you wouldn't even blink out at here.
You were in California, right?
Yeah, I grew up in California.
Where at?
Lompoc, California.
Okay.
So if you see the outline of California, there's that little kind of like nipple almost of the outline of California. That's basically where Lompoc, California is, right there on the coast. Small town, 50,000 people, kind of like Minot, the size of Minot. But yeah, I didn't have any offers or anything like that. So I was always trying to prove myself, just trying to, I'm not only getting these opportunities because of my father. And my father was a great coach, demanded a lot out of his teams. But not only out of his teams, but because we kind of had that stigma of like, we're the coach's kid and that's the only reason we're getting this opportunity. He was really hard on us. He expected a lot out of us. And I of course, my brother was really freaking good at basketball.
Was he?
Oh,
What did he play?
He was a beast. He was a point guard.
He was a point guard too.
Played 3 years at Mary. He went to JUCO right out of high school. At Santa Rosa Junior College in California, and then transferred to Mary. Played there for 3 years.
Santa Rosa, that wasn't where Last Chance U was shot. Have you ever seen that show on Netflix?
I haven't seen it, but
dude, you gotta watch that show. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think my wife has watched it.
Dude, it is amazing.
It's a football show, right?
No, there's a football and basketball.
Oh, really?
But the basketball one is Last Chance U, and it's I can't remember the school name, but their colors are green and black, I think. But it is top notch. Like it was one of those shows that you binge watch like a full day. But sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah,
dude. Let me know.
Check it out. But yeah, to go back to being a coach's kid, and the thing that happened in my life kind of organically is, like I said, I had no college offers, nothing like that coming out of high school. I actually basically was a walk-on at UMary. I got
What?
accepted into the college. Like I said,
Really?
I was 5'9", 5'10" when I graduated high school. Lucky enough for me, I grew an inch and a half my freshman year of college. My older brother Jeff, who is on Mandan's coaching staff, I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but
Willie did.
okay, yeah, that's
Willie
right.
talked about
that's
it
right.
last night.
Yeah.
Is he the boys' assistant?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's Schaefer's assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. So he actually moved back home the summer after I graduated. So I just got done with my senior year. He moved back and he basically was like, do you want to be a college basketball player? And I was just like, yeah, I do, but I don't have any offers. I knew I was going to Mary and I was going to walk on and I was hopefully going to make the team. The best thing that Mary had was they had a JV team. So I knew I was at least going to get to play on their JV basketball team and go play a bunch of JUCOs and at least keep playing the game of basketball and get to hang out with my older brother, and kind of see where it takes me from there. Well, when he moved back, I was a late bloomer, so I started growing, started getting bigger. I put on probably 10, 15 pounds of muscle before I headed to college. And he told me that Juno Pintar, the coach at the time at UMary, he was like, yeah, he's trying to replace me. He thinks he can do better than me as far as bringing a point guard in. He was bringing some North Dakota kids in. And he was like, I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to take my spot. And if you want, I can make sure you're my backup.
Ooh.
But I'm going to show you the way type of thing. And I already had a
that's
foundation
sick.
from my father because my father was a great coach. He actually has 400 plus wins himself.
Whoa.
Just like Dean does.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot of undefeated seasons, things like that.
Wow.
He laid down the foundation as far as being a basketball player, what it looks like to be disciplined, have dedication, wake up in the crack of the morning and go get shots up, basically putting work in when nobody else is. He laid that foundation for us. And then when Jeff went and, I got to go prove myself, he was just like, when Juno was telling him, I'm going to replace you, he was like, go ahead and try.
Yeah.
And then he came back and moved back in with my parents and kind of put his arm over my shoulder and was like, here, I'll take you with me, And then I went out to Mary and I thought, all right, my brother's on the team. I'm gonna get to be the backup point guard, just because Jeff West is here.
Yeah.
Well, I was mistaken. That's for sure. Had to go prove myself, but which was nice because I'm proving myself my whole high school career of no, I'm better than just being the coach's kid. I'm out here because I have skill and I have talent and I put in the work to be out here, not just because I'm the coach's kid. And now it was just another time for me to basically prove myself, right? And I was a walk-on. There was guys with full scholarships that were, going to get those roster spots, and I had to go try to take those spots from them. Well, little did I know we were going to be doing individual workouts with just guards, and Jeff was an animal back then.
So you had to go against him every day.
So it was me, two other point guards from North Dakota, Mark Bockham and Marcus Fridley, I believe. And then Jeff, and I'm thinking, oh, Jeff's going to kind of take it easy on me, maybe, make me look good.
Yeah.
No, not at all. He was
Probably
actually
went
harder
harder.
on me.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, but I was so used to it because I grew up with him, and I don't know why I ever thought any different that he would take it easy on me because that's not who he is. So going through that and just kind of grinding and trying to find my way onto this roster spot, and then I didn't make the team right away in the first 4 games. I was on the bench, but I was playing JV, and I got to go play Lake Region. I actually got to go play against Anthony Moody when he was at Lake Region.
Shit, really?
Yeah. And that was back when he couldn't shoot.
Right.
Now he's got a sniper. So
Yeah.
I got to go play against Anthony Moody, Tribes, a couple other JUCOs, and then I think Jamestown JV, and I played really well in those games. So I kind of made it so they had to give me a chance on the the big stage. And then I just became, after those 4 games, I became Jeff's backup. And then my sophomore year, I actually started, I think, probably 2/3 of the games. So I got to play alongside my brother in the starting lineup for half the games my sophomore year. So
How did that feel? I mean, what did your dad say? Was he like, you did it?
Yeah,
Congratulations.
My dad is always super proud of us, even to this day, of whatever we're accomplishing in life.
Yeah.
He's a super proud father. Definitely is a big reason why we have the dedication and discipline that we both have and that we both show in our lives, both in our careers and our families and things like that. So he's super proud of that. And I wasn't I don't think too aware of the moment of like how rare it is to play with your older brother when you're in college. I was just in college. I was 18, 19, 20 years old, away
Totally.
from mom and dad for the first time, drinking beer and, partying
Going
and
to
having
bed at
fun.
8 o'clock.
Exactly. Like doing stupid stuff. So, but looking back on it now, I realize how much of a privilege and how awesome that is. And I can't imagine how proud my dad was in those moments,
Yeah, so you ran the same defense in high school that Bismarck High's running right now, the press?
So
or similar to?
So funny. Okay, so here's how the story goes. When I came up to Minot State, Mike Holtz, who was my coach my junior year at Minot State, he was actually running what Willie's running right now.
Really?
Yeah. So we did
at a collegiate level.
Yeah, and we were ruining teams with it. Mr. Carney led the nation in steals from us running this in NAIA back in the day. Which is still a great accomplishment. But yeah, we ran that press. We were 10 deep, I think. We would go 5 in, 5 out. For the most part, me and Mr. would kind of like stagger, but then the last 10 minutes, we'd kind of end the game together. But yeah, that's where it stemmed from. And then my dad watching my games was just like, what's this all about? And then he looked into it. He got the DVD that Willie was talking about. Mm-hmm. And my dad was such a student of the game. Because he wasn't really a basketball player himself, he did it kind of as a hobby. He was more of a football player. He actually played college football at Azusa Pacific in California. He was a wide receiver. But he went on to be a teacher and a coach. Well, he had never coached basketball before, so he had to go be a student of the game.
Learn a little bit. So
he dove headfirst into it, and then he was just ruining teams out in the central coast of California with it. And like Willie said in his podcast, I was telling him all the time, I'm like, dude, somebody's got to run this out here because it will ruin these teams. It's just different, man.
Right.
And nobody's doing it. And now you see a couple of teams doing it, like Central McLean girls team. They do like a version of it. They don't go as like the hockey subs and things like that, but it's all just pressure, and then let your kid, it's chaos. Kind of like, did you watch the South Prairie Devils Lake girls state A
I didn't get a chance, huh?
What was the coach saying? It was something like organized chaos or something like that. And they thrive in the chaos, right? Because they're used to it. Well, the other teams aren't used to the chaos, but they are used to it. So they might turn it over 25 times, but they're used to their chaos. You know what I mean? And that's what my dad. They just would ruin teams, but they would turn the ball over themselves, but they were more comfortable in the chaos than you were going to be.
Well, even like the mental side of it too, you're dog tired beating this press, and then they're falling back and in your face man to man, and then you just now catch your breath, and then 4 to 5. I know Willie does like a 4-4 thing.
Right.
It's like 4 new guys are coming in. It's like,
right. Yeah, that's got to be
mentally that's
demoralizing as a player, especially imagine being Eric Winchesky and Logan Conklin. They're only 7 deep or 8 deep. Know what I mean? Yeah. Like those kids, and they handle it well. Obviously, Dean's a beast, and he knows what he's doing. He's putting game plans together to be able to kind of negate some of that. But those games have been great. All 3 of them this year have been great to watch. So
I the States. This is going to come out this Wednesday. So like State will be done by the time this comes out. Cool. But I would love to see both of them go on a run. And Willie said something last night that really made me think like, dude, maybe because he said Dean beat him Willie beat him as a player in the WDA championship. And then Dean beat him in the state championship. Yep. And Willie's like told his kids, maybe we can do the same thing. So it's going to be interesting to see. Right. And we'll know when this comes out. But
said something like you don't put
WDA championships,
you don't put regional titles on the wall. You put state titles on the wall. I love that,
dude. Me too. Yeah. And at practice last night, he had those kids locked in.
I love that.
Locked in.
Yeah, and he's super high on his point guard Andre Austin. I love watching that kid play. He's a beast. He's got that ball on a string. He like Willie was saying, he's starting to shoot the ball really well. Mm-hmm. If he comes out there and rocks into a couple shots and keeps the defenders honest on that jump shot, you can't guard that kid.
Well, I think another big thing too that people forget is like the Civic Center where this tournament's going to be is like a second home to the Demons.
Exactly. That
they're very comfortable
plays into
there.
It for sure.
Very comfortable.
Especially against the East teams who don't play in that place.
Yeah. It's a big role, but I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about how you got into firefighting because a funny story when we first talked about doing the podcast, I was going to get measured for a tux. Then I seen like 2 huge fire trucks pull up, And I'm like, oh, great. And because I had to wait. And I see you get out. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Jason West. And I knew you were fighting fires and I knew you were doing this thing. And then you walked by, you didn't notice me. I think I was like, hey, pussy, or something like that. And then you're like, hey, man. I'm like, hey, buddy, good to see you. And then we started chatting it up and it was good to see you. And I remember driving home like, how sick is that? And what a great job to have, because it's like a job that everybody sees you and you're kind of a heroic role in the community, because when shit goes down and there's no one else to turn to, they turn to you guys.
Right.
So, I mean, how did you get into firefighting and what was kind of your sense of mind when you went into it? Because it's a dangerous thing.
Right. So what's crazy about my life is it can all be linked back to basketball, which it's insane. But a guy I played with in high school, he was actually 3 years younger than me. So he was like a sophomore or a freshman when I was a senior. His dad was a captain of the fire department. We only had 2 stations in Lompoc, California. And his captain, Steve Taronis, his dad was a captain, Steve Taronis, in Lompoc. And he would come to our games, and I knew him growing up and things like that. And I had your natural, when I was a little kid, I'm gonna be a firefighter. I'm gonna be a police. I always wanted to be a firefighter, and then and it kind of stuck. And then when I was older, I saw Steve Taronis, and I just, like you were saying, I kind of saw that that natural respect and kind of kids looked up to him and things like that. And as a 17-year-old kid, I was just like, I want to be that. I don't know what that is, but I want to be that. And then kind of looked into it. We had to do like senior projects and stuff like that to graduate high school. And I did my senior project on him, and I got to do a ride along. I got to hang out with at the fire station for an entire day and had dinner with the guys, and just the way they talked and hung out and laughed. And it felt like I was hanging out with the boys, you know what I mean? Like I was sitting in the locker room with the boys. That's what it felt like to me. And I was hooked. So I knew, and a funny story going back to that, is like when I went to marry, like one of the first conversations, Willie and I are boys, right? And to touch on Willie real quick, you've done a couple podcasts where you just praise Willie left and right, which is wild. So I'm not going to sit here and do that, but he definitely does deserve it. But one thing I will say, the reason that, you know, I don't think Dex or you really touched on it, the reason that Jordan Wilhelm is who he is, I don't know if you've ever met Pam and Craig, his parents, but they are phenomenal people.
Really?
So the love that you have for Willie, if you ever meet his parents and get to chat with them, the way Willie is makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, he talks about his dad. His dad was going to drive bus, I think, for the team for a little bit. Yeah,
just phenomenal people. Yeah,
nice.
Great people.
I'll have to try to meet him.
My freshman year, when Willie and I met each other, we, you know, doing the typical, what do you want to do when you get older type stuff. And he told me, I want to be a teacher, and I'm going to coach the Demon High basketball team when I get done here.
Did he honestly say that?
He said that.
Really?
And he asked me, and he was just like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to school for. I just know I want to be a firefighter. That's all I want to do. And, you know, 6 years ago when I became a firefighter, however many years ago when he became a teacher and a coach, you know, we've had these moments where we're just like, dude, do you remember that conversation?
You did it.
And 100% he remembered the conversation. And we're just like, look at us now. Like that's got to be rare. You know what I mean? 18-year-old kids talking about their dreams, and then they go in accomplishment. No matter how long it took, we both got there, you know, which is super cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. I mean, when I was 18, I didn't even know. Yeah, but that's awesome. Good for you. Now, tell us a little bit about your role here with Minot in the fire department, because I know it's changed a little bit. So tell us, keep us up to date with that. So
just to give a little background on the Minot Fire Department, we have 65 employees, I guess is what you can call them, 5 administrative staff, and then we have 60 firefighters. Okay. They're staffed between three battalions, so an A battalion, B battalion, C battalion. We work 48-hour shifts. We get 96 hours off after we work our 48 hours, and when each battalion just shifts in there, right?
Right.
So now, when you become a firefighter, you have what's called a probationary year. Your first year is you got to get all your your Fire 1, your Fire 2, your hazmat stuff, and you got to get your EMT. So we're all EMTs, and then you become a firefighter after your first year. And then 3 years in, which now is moved to 4, you become you start to go through what we call a PADO program, which is learning how to drive the truck, pump the truck, things like that, get water to the hose lines, things like that. After 3 years, you start that, and then 4 years, you test to become a senior firefighter. And then once you're a senior firefighter, if there's promotionals coming up for a captain, you're eligible to be promoted or to test for that captain spot, which is what so I'm 6 years in now. I just got promoted to captain last year.
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah,
good for you, buddy.
It was a huge accomplishment for me personally.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro.
Mr. Captain. But yeah, the process to go through that, it's an assessment center. So it's not just like our administration just goes, he's a captain, he's a captain, he's a captain, right? We opened a new station, Fire Station 5. It's our 5th station here in town. With opening a new station, you have to promote 3 captains to man that station. So we went through a whole assessment center, and we have just a jam-packed of people in the senior firefighter range of that 5-year to 15-year if they haven't been promoted yet. So we had 24 people, I believe, testing for 3 spots of captain, and you go through a whole assessment center. There's 5 sections of it, and you get points on how you do. There's people proctoring each section, and they deduct you or say you did a good job here, and then they put all the points together, and how you fall in that is they took the top 3 and promoted them. So,
really?
So I was able to finish in the top 3.
So what all is like in the test?
So there's
is it like a handwritten part?
So one section of it is they give you an essay title was like, we're moving to 5 stations now. How do you see us staffing those stations as far as our engines and our trucks and things like that? And then you wrote a 2,000-word essay. So that was only one written part. There's no like bubble sheets or like answering questions like that. One of them was situational awareness is what they call it. So they have an actor come in. They go through 3 different parts of like, all right, now this is a disgruntled senior firefighter that you have, and he's mad about X, Y, and Z. Go. Whoa. And then this guy acts like he's all pissed off, and then you got to talk him through it. And then another one was,
are you serious?
Another one was you're in Dairy Queen with your crew. It's late at night. You just got done training. You're trying to grab a quick meal, and a disgruntled citizen is pissed off that you're in Dairy Queen right now with your crew using their tax dollars, just kind of playing up on that. And they were like, action. And
was
you
the actor good?
He was really good. Yeah, he did a really good job. So that was one of the sections. And then one of the sections is it's called tactical. So you got to do on-scene reports.
Okay.
So for example, if a house is on fire, when I pull up on scene as the captain, I'm painting the picture. If I'm first on scene, I'm giving my on-scene report. I'm painting the picture to the other trucks coming in, because obviously if I'm first due, the other trucks are coming from their stations, which is a little further away, because this one, if I'm first due to this one, it's probably in my district, so I'm closest to it, right? So I'm painting the picture. I'm on scene. We got heavy pressurized smoke coming out of the Alpha side.
Like a radio broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm painting the picture over the radio for the trucks coming in.
Okay.
So there's 5 different pictures they'll show you, and the pictures like progressively either get worse, and then you're just kind of updating your on-scene report in that section. And then there's a chief's interview, and then there's like a inbox outbox of how you would go about your day with this problem, and you have to organize your day with 15 different problems basically that you got to organize of most important to least important.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So they like test you psychologically as well as like strength and just knowing fires. Yeah. It's like a psychological side of it too.
Exactly. They want to see how you react to things, right?
Wow.
Like being a captain of a crew, you're in charge of those decisions that you're going to make. Especially at a house fire, you're in charge. If you're first due, you're in charge of those. You're trying to resolve that problem, and you're making the initial decisions to try to resolve that problem, and you're in charge of those guys sitting next to you, putting their lives in danger at times. I don't mean to sound like it's that aggressive, but it can be at times.
Yeah.
So
no, totally. Yep. Hey, we've been at this for 30 minutes already. We got 2 segments left. Okay, this one's called 10 for 10. Okay, and so I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and Jay West, there's no like right or wrong answer. You just has to answer them as quick as possible, okay?
I am pretty quick, so.
Okay. Okay, 10 for 10 with Jay West, and away we go. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Lake or ocean?
Ocean.
Palm trees or evergreen trees?
Palm trees.
Favorite actor or actress?
Denzel Washington.
Favorite band or rap artist?
J. Cole.
Ooh, I like that one. What
Yes, sir.
city in Texas has an NBA mascot nicknamed the Mavericks?
Dallas.
What city in Texas has an NFL team nicknamed the Cowboys?
Dallas.
What city in Texas spelled backwards reads salad?
Dallas.
Who is your favorite podcaster and buddy?
Dallas.
I gotta switch those up because I noticed like people that listen to it now, like Willie knew it was coming. I'm
Right.
like, shit. But like, it's fun to do it with like Dean Winchesky and
When he doesn't see
Paul
it
Allen
coming.
to those other guys. They don't listen, so they don't
Right.
see it coming. They're like, oh, that was awesome, yeah. And I asked Paul Allen before we did. He's the voice of the Vikings. I'm like, you do remember my name's Dallas, right? Just in case that would be awkward as shit. Like if
Right.
he didn't. But Jason, Swim Lessons, the podcast is about overcoming tough times. I think you're a fantastic example of this. But what do you say to yourself though when the chips are kind of against you and you're trying to get back into a rhythm of life, if you will?
Well, we have a saying in the fire department that, or in the fire service, it's all about adapting and overcoming things, right? And I try to tell myself that anytime I'm going through the ebbs and flows of life, whether I'm facing tragedy, whether I'm on the highs of high, right? Just adapt and overcome whatever emotions you're feeling. If you find yourself at the bottom of a mountain and you're kind of looking up at the top and it seems like it's way up there, just stare down at your feet and get them moving. One step, one step, one step. All of a sudden you're in you're at the halfway point of that mountain. You look up, that top is a lot closer, right? You may slip, fall back a couple yards, scrape your knee. Got to adapt and overcome, right? Keep looking up at that mountain and looking back down at your feet, one foot in front of the other. Life has a funny way of knocking you down, but as long as you keep picking yourself back up and you have good people around you that can help you get through the tough times, you'll be able to adapt and overcome.
I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
How can people like support the Minot Fire Department? What's like some quick plugs where they can see what you guys are up to?
So we're all over social media, Instagram, things like that. Minot Fire. We do have a union, a local 1157. But if anybody's, I will say this, if anybody's interested, you in your early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, and you don't know what you want to do in life, and you feel like you're just kind of lost, and whether you want to go back to school, drop out of school, get into school, whatever it is, reach out to me. I have a great opportunity for you to become a firefighter. I'll get you all the information you need. It's a very rewarding job, and we have a sweet schedule, and we get to hang out with the boys.
That's awesome.
And girls.
Yeah, there you go.
So reach out to me, and I'll get you some information.
That's
get you started
just
on that
Jason
path.
West on social media.
J12 West.
J12 West.
JAY12 West on all socials.
There you go. Somebody's going to listen and hit you up.
I love that.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for everything you do for the community, and really appreciate you as a human being too.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap. Jay West. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.